All right, so we're going to start off at this point with first I want to just evaluate, do a quick evaluation of the 10 results that we found. And I want to talk about really quickly about subject terms and then also about how to expand your results. 10 is pretty small. So when we talk about evaluation, there's a few things to consider. First of all, you want to evaluate uh, the obvious one, which all of us are going to do, is to see, is this worthwhile for my research question. And so there's the quick way to do that is to first you can hover over the this magnifying glass here, and that's going to bring up what's called the detailed record. It's the same thing that you would get by clicking on the title, but it's a way to save time. And so from here, you can read the abstract. Now, you're not making a full-on commitment to this article. What you're basically reviewing it as is this worth considering? And so you're just going to save it based on that. And so if it is, you can drop it into this folder, and it's going to go into your folder here. Now, by signing into Unify, you're automatically going to be signed into your account, and these items that you place in the folder should persist from one session to the other. And so that's one level of review, is just by reviewing the abstract and saying that I'm going to consider this article for my research. The other thing that you want to do is you want to evaluate about how this item is described and whether or not it could help you to find additional articles, and that's really has a lot to do with the description. So if you click in on the title, um, most of the articles are going to be set up like this. You'll have the title, author, source, etc., but then you're going to have what's called a subject term. So I want you to notice how few subject terms there are. So these are very specialized terminology that is going to be consistent across the publication. So everything about families would have this subject term if that is one of the primary topics. And these can be consistent across different publications. So here, what we could do is we could look through this, and if there was something that we felt like was relevant, then we may want to add it to our term table. So I may decide to take job security and then add it to my term table. And so I'm going to put that in the first column here. And you can see also that the subject terms are hyperlinked. So I could click on this, and it's going to redo my search completely, and it's only going to bring up items that are labeled job security. So this DE in front, that's one way to show that this is a subject term. Now, as I said before, there will be carryover between these descriptions, and sometimes we'll find, here we have a variation. We have job satisfaction versus job security. Here we have our term for well-being. And then also, remember we talked about mental depression as a measure of well-being. And then instead of maternal, we actually have working mothers. Now, working mothers is an interesting one because, as you can see from our term table, um, we actually, working mothers, of course, it could go here under job loss, but you can see that it spans across these two. It includes maternal and the job or employment. So working mothers was a good find for us. Now we could, let me just show you a little bit about how Galileo works. When I click on this, as I showed you before, then it saves it. It pulls up that search. So anytime you do that, it's going to redo your search. But one thing to know is that by clicking on these subjects is that these also get logged into your search history. So you can see that I am logging these subject terms into my search history. And the reason that is important is because I'm going to show you how we could combine and look at two of those. If we go to search history, then we could select working mothers and well-being and search this together with and. And then I can go back over and I can add my limit to academic journals. And now we have a new search of 107 results. And the way that we got to this was by going through working mothers and our subject of well-being, which we captured in our previous search. So by searching working mothers and well-being, we get 107 results when limited to academic journals. So let me just summarize. So when we're evaluating results, then we can do a basic level evaluation by viewing the abstract, and if we feel like it has potential for a further review, we can drop it into the folder so that we can say that in the future, down the road, we're going to start evaluating more articles. The other evaluation we can do is what can I learn from these articles that can help me to do better and a variation on my searches. So the other thing that we talked about were subject terms. So subject terms, what we've done so far is a keyword. A keyword searches through any part of the article. So in the title, in the abstract, in the full text, so any occurrence of our search, if it occurred in the full text, it's going to come up. Whereas when we only search for subject terms, it's only searching in one part of the article. It's only searching in this portion of the article, which are the subject terms. And so not only are those terms very specific and focused and consistent, but there are also very few of them. You can notice that we can count this, this is under 10 subject terms, and compare that to the number of words that would be in the full text. So if you find yourself in a place where you have to narrow down your search, you're going to want to do a subject term. Now let me touch on, I'm going to go back to where we were, and I'm going to go back to our 107. Okay, so let's say that we've done some review. 107, let's say that this is kind of small and we need to expand it out. This would have been particularly true of our search for when we had 10 results. So let me go back actually, and I'm going to recreate. So when we did our search for job loss and maternal well-being, and we did our search for phrases, so these are keyword phrases. I'm going to hide the search history. And then we limited it by academic journals. So now we have 10 results. So this is too small of a result list. We need to expand it out. So how can we do that? So one thing, we can go back to our term table, and we could introduce some variations. So variations are introduced through the or. So like this, we can put or, and even Galileo is suggesting it. We had unemployment. Now we want to make sure that if we have an or using a phrase, which is two or more keywords that go together, be sure to keep your quotes around it. So now we have or unemployment. What this does is it's going to search for maternal well-being and job loss, or maternal well-being and unemployment. So when we search that, the numbers should go up from 10. So add back. Remember, we have to add back the limits if we do any changes up top. So now you notice that we went from 10 to 87. Now if we look at this one, so we could do, let's do We could do another or here. We could do or maternal depression with less S's. All right, so when we do that, what's going to happen? It's going to reset. We have to go back in and add in our limit. Now notice this one exploded, so now we went up to 5,860. So what that tells me is that maternal depression is actually a much more common term than maternal well-being. So we can see how to expand our results. So just reviewing, we've talked about how to evaluate our results, then we talked about subject terms, and we talked about using the OR feature in order to expand our results. Now, one more way that we can do this to expand our results is we can go to search history, and I showed you how to combine these, but let me show you how to do a variation. So we could do two of these like this, and then you could combine them with OR. So that's going to give me either of those particular items that I searched for. So you can use the OR that way as well. If you have two subject terms that you want to combine together to do an OR. And so we did working mothers or maternal well-being, and then we could add in a keyword down here below to combine it with those two. So that is another way that you can do an OR and using search history and expand your search out. All right. Next time we're going to talk about limits, limiting your search, getting more specific to your search, and also we're going to talk about borrowing items for items that are not available by full text, and so that'll be in our next video.